Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Zimbabwe. 20 minutes past 7 is the time. Author Cynthia Hakutangwi has published a new book entitled Intelligent Conversations, a mindset shift towards a developed Africa. She's in the studio to tell us more about her work. Welcome to Good Morning Zimbabwe, Cynthia.
Morning, Tracy. Morning, Zimbabwe.
So tell us more about the book Intelligent Conversations, a mindset shift towards a developed Africa. No, obviously, it's not the first book that you've written, but what is it all about?
Intelligent Conversations is looking at the paradox that Africa is facing. It's addressing the challenge that we have of a continent that's so full of resources, yet it's struggling in every facet of it.
And what drove you to write this book?
Most of it is aggravation, really, because there is so much discussions that are happening. There's so much talk about development, but there is no productivity, and we're not seeing any forward-thinking solutions that are coming out to bring us out of this situation.
What do you think is the reason why this has remained so? Why do you think Africa's potentials remain subdued?
There's a lot of reasons that we can look at. One of them have got to do with the crisis that we have in terms of leadership. And one of the reasons that Africa has remained subdued is the inability for us to think sustainably in terms of just the solutions that we're coming up with. They tend to be very short term, not very forward thinking, not strategic in most cases. And just above all, it's the lack or poor implementation of whatever it is that we discuss. So the conversations are going on, but the intelligence is where we are failing to then implement what we're talking about.
Oh, so this is where the title Intelligent Conversations comes from?
Yes, yes.
And then the part that says, what role can intelligent conversations play in Africa's development?
When we look at intelligent conversations, Tracy, we're looking at the dialogue, we're looking at the monologue that a person has with themselves and the conversations that they have with others. Those dialogues and monologues have got to be productive, they've got to be forward-thinking. Once we have forward-thinking monologues and dialogues, what comes out of they are what we call transgenerational solutions. When you have transgenerational thinking, you think strategically, you think beyond the current, and you're provoked to act. Because whatever it is that you're managing now is limited.
But do you think African leaders or African governments, African whatever it is, or every other institution that works towards the development of Africa thinks about transgenerational solutions?
In some instances, yes. However, it's quite unfortunate that it has been the implementation of it. Most of it also has been a tragedy where we have failed to actually develop and accommodate thought leaders. This is the new generation of thinkers, because we do have a lot of young leaders, a lot of young thinkers who are so vibrant, innovative, but there's been a lot of stifling. There's no space that has been accommodated for them to actually come on fore and say what they think.
But at the same time, we realize there's so much probably of this conversation, especially regarding the issue of Africa's development, which is not being development stories or development initiatives, really being initiated. There's more talk than implementation, like you just highlighted.
Absolutely.
Okay, when are we going to ever start really implementing some of the things that Africans talk about?
When we don't have the systems and the structures and the mind to it, we have a challenge, which is why this book talks about a mindset shift, because it all starts with the pattern of thinking. And beyond thinking, what you're then saying is, all right, what systems do we develop, and what systems can we also design to accommodate upcoming thinkers and thought leaders throughout the continent? Because for as long as we remain with the same kind of thinking, we can converse, we can come up with excellent blueprints, but the implementation can only happen when we've got the people who are motivated, have got the energy, have got the passion, and are forward thinking. And
you also talk about the role of women in Africa's development. Tell us more about that one.
Do you know, Tracy, that's really a tragedy, because women are the greatest untapped resource in Africa. They play a very critical and fundamental resource in terms of just economic development. But their participation and their contributions, they're not noticed, they're not acknowledged, and their access to productive resources are not equal to their male counterparts. So we have a lot of women who have within them the natural ability to incubate, to develop, to amplify not only ideas, but just to really birth tangible things. And we see this even on the very basic home front. Now, should space be created for women that is equal to their male counterparts, I'm sure we'll see a whole lot more of development taking place in Africa.
But of late, many people have also been saying that women, yes, they are becoming more powerful than men. And what is your take on that? I mean, when men are being sidelined, you find that there are more men now living in rural areas because they cannot afford to keep up with the life in towns, of which women can. And they're saying that the girl child is now more advanced than their counterpart, than the boy child.
Well, that is very subjective, I must say, because in so many circles, we still have quite a lot of the girl child being very underdeveloped and still needing that space that their male counterpart has always occupied. Of course, there has been a transition, there's been a migration in terms of how we have been positioned as women. What I can say is for the women that have managed to make it to the fore, they now need a lot of capacity building in terms of just a leadership mindset, which is where they have been deprived, because that has been really given to their male counterparts previously. So yes, there is an upsurge of women coming into leadership positions, but even more so, the need for them to be built in terms of their capacity to be very relevant to where they are.
And this book is already available in Zimbabwe, right?
It's already available in Zimbabwe, yes.
Thank you so much for coming to Good Morning Zimbabwe. Author Cynthia Hakutangwi, who has just published a new book entitled Intelligent Conversations, a Mindset Shift Towards a Developed Africa. Good Morning Zimbabwe takes a break. We return right after this.